Did you know that the first black and white photograph taken with a camera required an 8-hour exposure? And this photograph was taken from the terrace of the house belonging to Joseph Nicéphore Niépce, the inventor of the camera. But before we begin with the inventor of the camera, I want to take you back exactly 1,000 years ago, to the side of the person who first introduced us to the concept of photography. The person who introduced us to photography is Ibn al-Haytham himself, an ancient Islamic scholar. Ibn al-Haytham was born in 965 in Basra, Iraq. Haytham was not an ordinary child. While his friends were playing outside, Haytham would draw geometric shapes on the paper in front of him, ponder why light refracts when it hits water, and watch why shadows change position during the day. Even at that age, Haytham was showing what kind of person he would become. His family found his state strange because his questions were bizarre. Why is a shadow black? Why does light travel in a straight line? How does the eye see? These questions were ones that were simply not asked in that era. In Haytham's youth, the name of his first experiment, which many people also know, was Camera Obscura, meaning the darkroom experiment. Haytham's childhood dream was to watch the sunset. However, he knew how harmful it was to watch the sunset with the naked eye. A brilliant idea came to Haytham's mind. He set up a tent that he could fit inside. Then, he sealed every single part of the tent. He opened a tiny hole, only as big as the tip of a needle, in just one spot. As the sunset was happening, the image of the sunset suddenly appeared on the inside wall of the tent. But the point Haytham did not understand was that the image was inverted, not straight. From this, Haytham reached the following conclusion. Light travels linearly, and light passing through a small hole carries the image of the outside world inside. This is considered the very first moment the science of optics was born in history. Since I have told the story of Haytham's life, let me also tell the short life story of Joseph Nicéphore Niépce, the inventor of the camera. Born in France in 1765, Joseph Nicéphore had an immense curiosity for mechanical tools, drawing, and lithography from a young age. Known as someone who read extensively during his youth, Joseph Nicéphore was also inspired by the works of Ibn al-Haytham, as Isaac Newton also said, "If I have seen further, it is by standing on the shoulders of giants." Taking Ibn al-Haytham's optics experiment into account, Joseph was in a room of his house one day, analyzing Ibn al-Haytham's experiment, the Camera Obscura, when he began to question, "This image is not permanent. I wonder how I can make this image permanent chemically." Since Joseph dealt with lithography, he knew that certain substances reacted to light. One substance caught his attention in particular, bitumen of Judea. This substance hardened when it saw light, but remained soft in the dark. This experiment was a turning point for Joseph. He took a metal plate, he coated it with this substance, and he pointed it toward the window. Then he began to wait. The sun was slowly changing position in the sky. Joseph never moved from his spot because he knew that this experiment would either fail or it would lead to a result that would change human history. For a full 8 hours, that plate received light. When evening came, Joseph took the plate and washed it with a special chemical mixture. Joseph could not believe what he saw. A vague but real image had appeared on the metal plate. This was the first permanent photograph in human history. The name of the photograph today is View from the Window at Le Gras. Joseph was looking for a faster method to develop this invention. At this point, his path crossed with a Parisian artist, Louis Daguerre. Daguerre learned of Niépce's method. They began looking for different ways to shorten the exposure time. Everything was progressing beautifully, but unfortunately, Joseph Niépce passed away in 1833. Louis Daguerre was trying to do everything in his power to develop this invention, and finally, he announced his method in 1839, the Daguerreotype method. People could now take photographs within minutes. The working principle of the method was the same as Joseph's method. It took the light in and trapped the image. Then it fixed it with chemistry. However, the change Daguerre made was altering the raw materials of the equipment he used. He preferred to use a silver-plated copper plate instead of a metal plate. He decided to use iodine vapor instead of bitumen of Judea as the chemical substance he coated on top. Because a copper plate is a type of metal that can carry the silver plating in the smoothest, most durable, and most stable way. When these two combined, the exposure time was reduced exactly to between 15 and 30 minutes. This was a priceless invention for the capabilities of that era. And here you see the first selfie image ever taken in history in the year 1839. On the back of the plate, he wrote this: "The first light picture ever taken, 1839. Back then, a picture was both a very expensive and a very long-awaited process. Photography offered you the opportunity to see your own face in its real state for the first time within minutes. Imagine yourself living in that era." Afterward, to develop his discovery a bit further and to reduce the exposure time to 1 minute, Louis Daguerre put forward this idea. During exposure, an invisible latent image forms on the plate. If he could capture this with a fast dissolving substance, the image could become permanent in a much shorter time. With the advancement of chemistry, he exposed the copper plate, the areas that received light, to mercury vapor, and the invisible latent image suddenly began to appear. After that day, anyone who found this invention took breath in France, and tourism suddenly boosted. While Daguerre was fixing images onto copper plates in France, Talbot was thinking of something completely different in England. The image should not remain on a single plate. It should be able to be duplicated. Talbot invented the negative-positive system by applying silver salts onto paper. He named this the Daguerreotype technique. This meant the following: an unlimited number of copies could now be produced from a single photograph. If you can duplicate a photo you took on your phone today, its foundation traces back to Talbot. Photography had now ceased to be a single and unique object. But the problem was still not solved. Getting a photo taken or taking one was still very difficult for the public. In the year 1880, a bank clerk named George Eastman decided to go on vacation. George wanted to keep the photos of the places he visited as a permanent memory while on vacation. However, he was shocked when he saw the materials required for photography. He was thinking that there must be a way to make this easier. In 1884, he invented flexible roll films. They would now be able to carry these lightweight rolls instead of glass. Thanks to this, the foundations of portable cameras were now beginning to be laid. The heavy interest of the public in photography led to the birth of a new commercial market as well. In 1888, the first camera company in history was founded under the name Eastman Kodak Company. Its slogan was as follows: "You press the button, we do the rest." A laborious task that used to take 8 hours had now become as easy as pressing a button. Kodak took photography out of laboratories and put it into the pocket of the man on the street. Now, to immortalize a memory, you did not need to be a scientist or a chemist. Just a single movement of a finger was enough. And the question in the minds of the people of that era, especially mine, was this: since we can capture light, why can't we capture color? And why do photographs come out black and white? In today's technology, no matter what device you are watching me from right now, be it a computer, a tablet, or a phone, it doesn't matter at all. There are 3 types of light bulbs on your screen. Since these bulbs are micro-level small, invisible to the naked eye, they serve to color everything you watch and see by showing you the necessary colors in the necessary places. Now let me explain to you how the situation was discovered in the year 1861. In 1861, a Scottish physicist named James Clerk Maxwell decided to conduct an experiment. He took 3 separate photographs of 3 ribbons made of the same material using red, green, and blue filters. Then he superimposed these 3 images on top of each other, and for the first time in history, a color photograph emerged. But this was still laboratory work. It would require waiting for real color photography. But even the fact that he had made this invention was more than enough for humanity. When the date showed 1907, Auguste Lumière and Louis Lumière brothers developed the autochrome technique in France. This technique worked as follows. Black and white film can record the intensity of light. If light filters onto the film in color, the film indirectly records the information of that color as well. They sprinkled colored powder on top of the glass plate. This was, in a way, preparing the infrastructure for the filters attached to the front of modern-day cameras. People could now record the world with the colors they saw, and photography was taking one step closer to reality. In the year 1969, the world's first internet network network was born under the name ARPANET. This meant that computers could now talk to each other. In those times when chips were spreading and data was starting to be poured into digital environments, two engineers named Willard Boyle and George E. Smith at Bell Laboratories invented the CCD sensor, which allows keeping the image in its memory thanks to the camera's chip. Light would now fall onto an electronic chip, not a chemical surface. And this period was the transition process of photography from chemistry to electronics. And today, the camera of the phone in your pocket, Ibn al-Haytham's dark tent, Niépce's bitumen of Judea, Daguerre's iodine vapor, Talbot's negatives, Eastman's rolls, Maxwell's colors, CCD's pixels. It is actually a combined version of all of them. Right now, when you take it out of your pocket and press a button, you are using the result of a 1,600-year-old science. Isn't it fascinating how everything started from a man wanting to watch a sunset? Like and subscribe!